Oh, hi there. I didn't see you. Welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We're continuing our Pioneer series. Ravnica Allegiance is up next. Jake, are you excited?
I'm excited. We are at the fourth to last Pioneer Sleeper Series video. But
That's
before we can
absolutely
get into it, you have to go below, click like, click subscribe, do a little bit of the good work for us.
Yes, it very, very much helps us out. We would appreciate it immensely. Let's get into the cards. Caveat, like we've said, for every video in this set, these are the $5 and less cards. We are trying to choose these sleepers, not the heavy hitters, not the ones that have already gone up in price, but the cards that we think may go up in price and that we think you should pick up right now if you're interested in playing them.
Yeah, it's tough because in the beginning we were giving you the cards that were $1 or less, but as Pioneer, we're moving into like week 3 here, coming up on a month of Pioneer, and so a lot of the cards that are good are getting bought up. So we're not just going to feed you a bunch of chaff and be like, yeah, these are good cards. We have to pick the cards that we still think are low enough that they can grow, but aren't just absolutely jank.
That's absolutely right. And here's a card that's absolutely not jank. It's a mana dork. 0-2 for 2 mana. Any type of mana that your lands could produce. And it gets bigger and produces more mana later in the game for you.
Yeah, any card like this that becomes a mana sink, from a limited perspective is really good, but I also believe in Pioneer. This card absolutely has legs. It's a 0-2 that becomes, I believe, a 3-5. So it's just, it's an excellent card. It has a lot of room for ramp, and it's like $1, maybe $2.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. It's got a relevant creature type with Elf. I really think that we could see this card, like it has in Standard, prove to be a power player in Pioneer. After that, we've got Gruul Spellbreaker. Speaking of power players, there's not a Gruul deck that doesn't run this. Period. End of thought.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense as well. It's one of those cards that can come online as early as turn 2 in this format, and it's just shenanigans. Yeah. It's really good if it comes on at turn 2 as a 4/4. And it's just the fact that it has hexproof conditionally is really, really good as well, and it can't be ignored.
Yep, you're exactly right. When it comes into the battlefield early, you definitely want to drop that counter on it and have a 4/4 trampler that turns your entire side of the battlefield. You and the Spellbreaker anyway. Hexproof during your turn. But late game as a top deck, it's not a terrible one if you just need to squeeze across 3 more points of damage. You can catch your opponent off guard. This is the kind of card that could get you there.
Dude, it's such a good card, and it's such a powerful beater. And the way that we analyze cards here at Jake and Joel Are Magic is, when it hits the field, is it a complete pain in the butt? And it absolutely is. And so, generally speaking, that's pretty much a sign of a good card.
Absolutely. Here's another good card, Judith, the Scourge Diva. Value off of all your stuff dying. Increases your entire board if you've got some kind of go-wide strategy. Increases all their power. You've got kind of a half an anthem built into her. Really, her only weakness, she's got a 2-butt, so she dies to Wild Slash, dies to Shock, which is just rampant in this format right now.
It's okay.
And she's legendary. I mean, that's really her drawbacks.
And another thing I really like about Judith is at a certain point during the match, it can become its own uninteractive strategy if it's built into the right shell. Like having a sacrifice outlet as a means to deal damage to face is really good, or any target.
Yeah, absolutely. I love her in my Rakdos deck, my Rakdos aggro deck. Absolutely has her as one of the 3 drops. That attacking anthem, that half an anthem on her is just fantastic. Here's a card that I've played in mono white beatdown strategies and also has a little bit of a prison deck feel to it. Typetaker dies, replaces itself with a flyer, no less, and until then keeps them from interacting with you, or at least making it more painful to interact with you on your turn.
Yeah, this is one of those cards that I'm actually really surprised has stayed at such a low price point for so long, and it probably is that one, but honestly, the fact that it replaces itself makes it very good. And yes, it has a prison effect built into it, so this is one of those cards that I imagine in the future people will look back on it and go, how is Typetaker ever only a couple dollars? Like, the card is seriously just so good. You don't really, if the butt is that small, then you don't really worry about it just being a 1. You're like, this card is most likely going to die.
Right.
It's going to die to anything, but you're getting a flyer out of it, and until they kill it, it's just it's just really annoying.
Right, yeah, that's exactly right. Mass Manipulation is the end of a lot of control-style decks right now. 6 mana to take one of their creatures or planeswalkers, 8 mana to take 2, and so forth. That seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I see this playing in a control deck for sure, alongside something like Gilded Lotus.
Yeah.
Just something to get as much mana as possible out of this spell. I could see this spell being the kind of thing, you think when people are playing strategies, if they're playing control strategies, they're going to be playing like a lot of planeswalkers. If they're playing aggro strategies, they're going to be playing a lot of creatures. So the chance that this spell isn't relevant is very, very low.
Right.
And I just think, in the right shell, you don't even need creatures. You could just do removal, 4 copies of this, and then at a certain point during the match, when everything is stalled out, you've blown up the board X amount of times, you've used your targeted removal on whatever creatures are pesky, and now you're going to use this to take over whatever else. They could end with like a Garruk or a Liliana, and now you're mass manipulating to take those over. So yeah, it's really, really strong.
Restrictions on this, it's sorcery speed, but of course a spell like this it's 4 blue, so that could be restrictive, but I mean, It's played a lot in Standard. It's got a possibility for Pioneer for sure.
That's how I feel.
We got Gutter Bones. We got a decent 1-drop, 1 black, 2/1, enters the battlefield tapped, and it can come back from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, this is a good card for sacrifice strategies. I hate that it's not a zombie. I wish that relevancy was into it. It's a Skeleton Warrior, which neither of those are super relevant tribes to build around. But I mean, for a 1-drop, it's got the 2 attack, and that can really be powerful if it just goes unanswered and keeps swinging through.
Sure, I think it's really good alongside Death Baron. Obviously, is going to give it a buff and give it Death Touch. But yes, anything that we were just talking about Judith. If you pair this alongside something like, I don't know, Hidden Stockpile or anything that allows you to sacrifice, a Witch's Oven. You go this, Cauldron Familiar, Judith, Witch's Oven, and then all of a sudden you just have, you don't even have to swing at that point. All you have to do is sacrifice things and gain life, and yeah, it's a really good card. I like it a lot.
Yep, absolutely. We've got Priest of the Forgotten Gods next after that. Another sacrifice outlet, another sacrifice enabler. Gives you 2 life off of them. Sack a creature, you get 2 black mana and to draw a card. It's just, if you untap with this card, you're in a good way.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Priest of Forgotten Gods is one of those cards where, again, we talk about this sometimes, but cards that come out and they have a lot of hype and then they just kind of fall flat on their face. I think this card is starting to prove itself more and more. And the value that you get once you tap it is pretty notable. And if you're building it in the right deck, in the right shell, you're going to get nothing but upside out of this card.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got Electro Dominance after that. How about some removal that lets you play something else for free at instant speed?
Dude, I actually have a little thing about Modern with this card. This card was played in Modern, and then they cast Crashing Footfalls for free to get 2 4/4s because it's a card with Suspend. Right. So they get 2 4/4s off of this card after, like, it's just so good. And it's one of those cards, again, like Lazav in the previous video, where Lazav, it didn't really do anything when it originally came out. And as more cards are printed, if there are different ways to cheat things out, Electro Dominance, it's a 2-for-1 a lot of the time. You're killing something, you're cheating something onto the board.
Right.
So I think it's a really good card.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And like the flavor text says, basically we turn a bunch of little lightnings into one big lightning. I think that is very relevant. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Pioneer Sleepers. We really appreciate you watching. If you wouldn't mind hitting like, hitting subscribe if you like the video, really does help us out. If you want to support us further, we got a Patreon. The link is down in the description below. And don't forget, we are streaming twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, over on Twitch. Jake, you got anything else? I'm tapped out.
No, I just got an empty wrapper from this Modern Horizons pack, and I don't know.
Nice.
I don't know what to do with that.
Oversized D20 from an Eldraine collector's pack, or whatever you call it. Fat pack, they used to be called. I don't really know. We'll catch you later. Done. Bye.